Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new Doctor Who video where today I'm discussing just how exactly I think the Timeless Child, the Division, the Ruth Doctor, the whole storyline from Series 12, how on earth is that going to play into Doctor Who Flux or Series 13? I've got a few theories, so I thought I'd just share it with you guys because somehow I don't think they're just going to forget about it. So yes, clearly we had the huge revelation in the last series that the Doctor was the Timeless Child. She wasn't actually born on Gallifrey. She was a sort of orphaned child in this mysterious world we don't really know much about yet, who could endlessly regenerate, and then that kind of sort of created the Time Lord race ultimately off the back of her. We also met the Ruth Doctor, who is one of the pre-Hartnell Doctors, and there was this mysterious organisation called the Division that seemingly the pre-Hartnell Doctor was working for in some capacity. We don't really know a lot about it. Now, it seems something pretty obvious that they're going to pick up on in this series because it was such a big thing, a big revelation back in Series 12 that just narratively it makes sense that you would continue that storyline on. I don't feel like we really got any conclusion to it. I know there was that whole thing about whether actually knowing more about the Doctor's past is a good thing or a bad thing, because at the moment the Timeless Child mystery has kind of created a lot more unknowns about the Doctor's past, where she came from, how that all happened. And maybe leaving that as unknown would be a better way to go forwards, but somehow I think it's going to be tackled in, I think, really quite a significant way in this series. Now, we've had a few little just hints and tidbits from interviews and whatever that just sort of suggest that, although they haven't really talked about it and certainly haven't, shouted about the fact that it might be related, just hints that it might well be that actually the Timeless Child storyline plays quite a big part in the series. Now, the first slightly tenuous, I guess, idea is back in Revolution of the Daleks. This isn't something I learned until the other week, I think, actually, and maybe you guys have all known it for months and I just hadn't realised. But Revolution of the Daleks, which aired, of course, on New Year's Day this year, it was mostly shot in 2019 with the whole of Series 12, but they decided to shoot one extra scene to be inserted into the story when they started filming Series 13, a sort of COVID practice scene, basically, but also a scene they wanted to insert into the special, and that was filmed in September 2020, so like a year after they'd actually filmed the special. After Series 12 had aired and everything, then they decided we're going to film another scene and put it in there. And intriguingly, it was the scene in the TARDIS between Ryan and the Doctor where, they're kind of talking about and addressing the whole Timeless Child thing. Oh, that happened in the finale, and, how the Doctor's trying to deal with that, how Ryan kind of encourages her to sort of deal with it and things. And it's just intriguing that the scene that was chosen to kind of write and slot into the special was a scene significantly to do with the Timeless Child, because apart from that scene, it's not massively addressed in the special. But that scene in particular was, significantly about it. And by that point, they would have had a much clearer idea of sort of the narrative and what they were planning to do with Series 13, what we now know as Doctor Who Flux. And so I think just the fact that they chose to put some more Timeless Child stuff into that special implies that it's going to become a bigger thing going into the next series. Now, alongside that, one of the significant things coming out of all the press interviews that have been done over the last few weeks, I think on Saturday or Sunday of last week, there was a sort of a BBC press pack, they call it, where all the main cast and crew get interviewed, asked a load of questions by the BBC, and it's just a good way to get some information out about the series without giving too much away, but giving us something. And one of the key things that Jodie Whittaker says, and also I think Matt Strevens, one of the executive producers, also kind of mentions, is about how this series focuses a lot on self-discovery for the Doctor. Now, the phrase self-discovery, sure, is a bit of a buzzword, but I think given, what we saw in the previous series, it would seem pretty obvious that self-discovery is something to do with the Doctor discovering more about her past, about the Timeless Child, and about how all that happened. Jodie, twice in two different answers to questions on this sort of press pack, mentions how this series is about self-discovery. The Doctor's journey in this series is about self-discovery. She uses that phrase multiple times. So I think it's fair to say that strongly implies that it's going to be fairly significantly tackled in the new series. And then the other slightly off-the-wall theory that I saw on the forums that I kind of like, I think it's quite fun. The pictures of what we now know to be the Ravagers, it was confirmed by Chris Chibnall in that same interview press pack. There was sort of him confirming that there's these two creatures that are the Ravagers, the creatures that we see, and hopefully if I remember this picture that I put up now. So yes, these images appear, this image is significant because it appears to show a similar pattern on their clothing to what we see in the original Timeless Child version of the Doctor, that sort of is first, I think we get a glimpse of in at the end of Spyfall, but the original sort of child that is standing there outside of what this sort of purple sky kind of vortexy thing, I think maybe the Boundary, something like that. That pattern appears to be quite similar to what they're wearing, and so I've seen some people theorise, which I quite like, is that actually these Ravager creatures are somehow the Doctor's parents, the Doctor's original parents, or some sort of connection to the Doctor's original sort of family or history or something like that through the Timeless Child storyline. Because it tells us, again, in these press interviews, they talk about how the Ravagers have a long, distant past with the Doctor. And obviously, we've never seen them on screen before, so it's not an on-screen past that we've seen. So maybe that's what sort of history they're talking about, is something to do with actually there's some sort of family connection or parental connection, something like that. Which I think, yeah, sure, it's probably going to be controversial, but then I feel like at this stage, everything that Chris Chibnall does with the Timeless Child is going to be controversial, so I don't think he's going to be held back by that, and he's just going to go for it and go, this is what I want to do with it, so I'm going to do it. And yeah, I just have an inkling, a feeling that maybe that's where the story might go. Alongside that, in the big trailer for Series 12, we also see one particular shot of Jodie falling through the sky with that sort of purpley, bluey background that looks very, very similar to where we first saw the Timeless Child, and where the boundary, the sort of colours of the boundary as well, and so I get that sense, that impression that's all going to connect into place, and that's going to be significantly explored during this series. So yes, I'm afraid for any of you guys who were hoping that this series would move on from the Timeless Child, that it would be forgotten about, and that, you know, we'd just focus on whatever the storyline of Doctor Who Flux is going to be, I don't think that's going to be the case. I think that's personally a good thing, because I don't hate the Timeless Child idea, and I feel like it's important for that to get further exploration rather than just info dump it in the Series 12 finale and then it's forgotten about forever. Like, that wouldn't make any sense in the narrative story of this Doctor and of the show, I think, at this point. So I think you've got to prepare, guys, for it being well explored. Whether we get it from the first episode or whether it's kind of introduced a little bit later into the series, we've got no idea. But I do think there's strong reason to believe that actually it's going to be a significant part of the new series. So yes, guys, let me know your theories, your thoughts, your comments down below. Do you think the Timeless Child is going to play, the storyline is going to play significantly into the series? And if so, is that something you're happy about, sad about, neutral about? Would you prefer it to be avoided forever because you hate it? Like, I'd love to hear your thoughts, your opinions, your feelings down in the comments below. But apart from that, guys, as always, please hit that like button, that subscribe button if you are new here. I'll be back with brand new videos every single day. I've got a preview of the whole series coming up tomorrow night, then a preview of just episode 1 on Saturday night before the return of the Doctor Who pub quiz. Do check that out, 4 PM Sunday afternoon. I'll be live streaming from then with the return of the Doctor Who pub quiz, plus a build up to the brand new episode that airs on Sunday. So yes, that's all for this video, guys. I will see you again very soon for a brand new one. Goodbye.